We'll get out of the limelight. It's sure good to see each one of you here this evening. I'm looking forward to this. I've been talking to Clint for a long time about making a date work here. And we got the date finally pegged, and he's here. I think he's here. He was here. Okay. As many of you know VacuFlow. That's Clint's business. And I thought it would be good. Can I get the music down? Or is that Clint's? Oh, can I get the music down? Thank you, Ruben. It's okay, Ruben. I can't hear you either. Hey, he's our blessing up there. Hey, we can laugh about it. Sound booth. I told Clint, we can't get a group together like this without some promotional pitch for vacuum cleaners, don't you think? I mean, after all, vacuum sweeper salesmen have about as bad a rap as used car salesmen.
Yep.
And Clint already knows that. I'm not telling him anything new. But we just thought something would help him a whole lot is if we just ask here tonight and take a survey, how many of you know how to run a vacuum sweeper? Come on, I want to see your hands. Hey, listen, women, some of the guys put their hands up first. How many of you know how to run a vacuum sweeper? Cleaner. Clint, most of them do. There's a few that didn't have the courage to say yes. They thought we had a job waiting for them. Now, all of you who put your hand up, I want you to put your hand back up if you know how to repair it. Clinton Leanne. I never even thought about that. Well, here you are. So, it's one thing to run a vacuum cleaner. It's another thing to repair them. And I'm sure Clint could tell us story after story about what you find in vacuum cleaners. Leaves me with an interesting question. If I clean my vacuum cleaner, does that make me a vacuum cleaner? You didn't get it. I thought you were going to say yes. Okay. So I've tried to clean vacuum cleaners out and failed, and I'm sure Clint's seen the result of those who have failed as well. So we may hear a few of those stories tonight, but aside from that, there was this salesman who came to a woman early one morning, and he knocked on her door, and she answered the door, and he took a bucket of dirt and dumped it on her carpet and said, I can guarantee you that my vacuum sweeper will clean up that dirt or I'll eat it. She said, you're lucky. You came the right day. My current shut off this morning. So he had a meal of dirt, I'm assuming. So I want to just say thank you for Clint and Leanne for coming and paying us a visit tonight and letting us hear and share in your story. It's an exciting story. I did not learn to know Clint as early as some of you did. I lived in Missouri, and my friends back home were saying to me, you need to meet Clint Miller. So I need to meet Clint Miller. So then what? Well, he lives back in the community where he came from. Well, okay. The day came, and we finally met, and we became friends. And he's been a friend ever since. I'm eager to hear from him. And there will be some sober moments, some serious moments, but there'll be some moments of smiles and laughter, I hope, as you listen to him. I'll just take a moment to pray, and then I'm going to ask him to come up and join me. Well, why don't you come up first? We'll find our seats.
Yeah.
Lord, I want to thank you for Clint and story of his life, things that you've been able to do and work through him, for the ministries that you've allowed him to be a part of, for the testimony of your love and faithfulness, not only through him, but to him and to the many people to whom he has shared your love and compassion. And as we listen to him tonight, continue to just work it into our hearts that you're a God of compassion. You love us. You love us beyond anything we could ever have imagined.
Yes.
Bless him as he shares with us tonight. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, I'm going to just ask you to sit over here, Clint, and kind of kick off. I was looking at your pictures earlier, and there's a couple of them in there that were taken not too far from here.
That's right.
Right over here on Broad and Washington.
Correct. That's where it started. Soon after we started our business, in the basement of our home back in 1987. And it was really due to the fact that Leanne missed the vacuum that we had put in our home in Phoenix, Arizona. We built a new home there, put a VacuFlo central vac system in, and when we moved back here, we started using one of her mother's used vacuums, and it was blowing dust out the back, and it happened to be an Electrolux, which I know were really good vacuums, but the VacuFlo unit was one that put the exhausted air to the outside of the home, so it made it 100% dust-free. All that to say that we shortly after that got in contact with the factory in Louisville, Ohio, and became a dealer then in January of 1987. Interestingly enough, we were doing work at Esther and Paul Moyer's home, carpentry work. I'm a carpenter by trade. So I had started back in this area doing carpentry and began to develop carpal tunnel issues in my wrist. And one evening, as I was complaining about my fingers going to sleep, Leanne asked me if I wanted to be driving nails when I was 50 years old. And I said, no, I really don't. She said, I know you could install those central vacs. Of course, she had an ulterior motive in getting that vacuum back in our home, which then in '87, we got the dealership from VacuFlo and started installing among friends and family in this area. And I have to say, this area has been really good to us.
Did you set any goals when you started out like that?
Actually, I remember soon after we got the dealership, I loved doing the carpentry work, but felt like this new venture of installing vacuum systems, central vacs, would be pretty interesting, kind of work to do. So as I thought about it, I thought, you know what, in 3 years, if I could be totally done with carpentry work, home improvement, and could do this vacuum installs full time, that's my goal. And sure enough, by the end of 3 years, we were off and running with doing shows like mall shows and to display our products. And we actually did the Philadelphia Home Show. We did that run for 25 years. I made booths and we would go to the Philadelphia Home Show, and it was a grueling 9-day show. So it was a lot of work, a lot of time, and funds we put into just getting the word out, that the central vac system would be a great
Somebody
tool.
told me about it when I moved back to Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And then when I was talking to you, and you said you met your goal within 3 years, I just put the figures together and I helped you meet your goal.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, well, it's really interesting how, first off, we got here, and then how we began the business. And really, we have, Leanne and I have a life verse that we have made ours for the last 35 years, I would say, and that is Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6, which simply says, "Trust in the Lord with all of your heart, and don't lean on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path." And it seems so simple, but yet so profound, because we did trust the Lord with all of our heart, and when things would seem like impossible, we would say, "Lord, we feel like you've brought us to this point in our business, and we trust that you will continue to provide for us." And He absolutely did. So our business went from the first office basically was in the basement of our home. Then this truck, a friend told me about, you need to have a truck with a billboard. So that was actually my next office/store. And following that was this property, if you recognize that, right on Broad Street. I'll never forget the day that I called Merle Moyer, who happened to be a friend of Leanne's family, and I asked Merle, he was the president of Univest at the time, and I said, "Merle, if I were to rent that space on the corner there, do you think that'd be a good place to be?" And he said, "How much is it?" And I said, $400 a month. And he said, "Clint, if you did nothing but put the signs up there," he said, "that would be worth $400 a month." But we took the inside of that, really, that looks really run down right there, and I'm sorry for that picture. I know we have a much better picture with signage on our windows. That was a very early picture of the rework that we did on that corner store. But that's how we moved out of our basement and into that little space. That was like in year 3 or 4 of our business. And then we went from that. Another name drop in this area would be Paul Myers. Paul Myers, the realtor, stopped by the store one day on Broad Street because he knew I was looking, and he said, "I have a place you need to come take a look at." And I said, "Well, is it a standalone somewhere?" He said, "Yeah, but it's right here in town." And if you recall, if you're a local, the Schisler Speed Shop was on Main Street, and they had moved out. And he said, "I want to take you by that building." And I said, "I don't think so, but okay, He said, "Amuse me, come on." So we went, took a look at that, and it was a very deep building. It was 2,200 square feet, and we ended up buying that building. That was probably one of the best investments that we've ever made, and we had our store there from 95 until 2007, and then moved to the store we're at now in Harleysville.
That's where most everybody thinks about you, in Harleysville there.
Do they?
now.
Yeah.
I think so.
You know what's interesting? We changed the name to C.J. Miller Vacuum Center probably in '99, and people still remember us as C.J. Miller Vacuum Flow, which was the way we started. So that's kind of a synopsis of the business.
Yeah, and
how it
that's
went.
where you are now. But you started out someplace different than most of us. And when I think about where you started out, I think about that. They got to look at it that way. I think about that mitten. There are states in the Union that have peninsulas. There are states that have necks. There are states that have fingers. This state is a mitten. It has a thumb.
Yeah,
That's a bit unusual. And that's the state you grew up in.
it is.
But the reality is that you grew up on the Upper Peninsula, but most of us know very little about.
Yeah. The Upper Peninsula, as you see on the map here, there's the Mackinac Bridge, and right in there somewhere would be Mackinac Island. I grew up in a little town called Engadine, which was maybe 150 people. And my folks moved from Lower Michigan, which would have been Saginaw, they were north of Fairview, right in there somewhere. And they went to the UP to start a mission church. The Mennonite church was expanding a bit into those areas up north, and so my folks went to help start a mission church. And my folks raised five of us. 3 of us were born in the UP, the rest were born in the Lower Peninsula. But I'm one of 5 and am the 4th in line. So 1951, I was born in that little town of Engadine. And actually, the Upper Peninsula is a very beautiful place. I often tell people it's a nice place to grow up, but I wouldn't want to live there. Because seriously, it's a pretty rough place to live. The winters are very cold, and we would have a fair amount of snow throughout the winter for sure. I guess they had record snowfalls this year. They had, oh my goodness, I think up in Marquette, I don't know, 11 or 12 feet or more for the year they had. It was a crazy amount. So that's...
I've never been there.
No.
Did you go fishing?
Oh, yeah, we used to fish.
Yeah.
But, here you go. There's Lake Superior. So from that point to there is maybe 35 miles, if that. And then Lake Michigan here. We were so close to Lake Michigan. My dad always would tell people, if you don't like the weather here, just wait 15 minutes and it'll change. And it's true because of the effects of the lake there. Yeah, many, many mornings getting up at below zero and that snow crunching under your feet to walk out to the bus. So, so while I'm on that, I have to say that my life was growing up in a Mennonite family, and we went to church Sunday morning, Sunday evening, and Wednesday. And my folks were very, they were conservative. Yeah, you could say that. But, my folks were very forward-thinking in a way so that they really helped us 5 children really establish our life in Christ. And it wasn't so much being a part of a denomination as it was what's going on with you personally in your relationship with Jesus. And that, to me, was such a great gift. So as I continued to grow in my walk with the Lord, and I have to say, the night that I gave my heart to Jesus, I was 11 years old, and I'll never forget going into my folks' bedroom. I felt I needed this cleansing. I needed to ask Jesus to come into my heart. And my dad prayed with me. I went into their bedroom and he prayed with me. And I know that some of you know this song. There's a new name written down in glory, and it's mine. Oh, yes, it's mine. That was a song I couldn't stop singing throughout the night. So that was my start with really surrendering my heart to Jesus. And through this walk of life that God has given me, it's been quite a journey. This little boy from the Upper Peninsula I went to Indiana right after graduating high school, lived there in the Goshen area for a year, then went to Los Angeles into voluntary service and worked in the inner city of LA for a year, and then moved to Phoenix. And that's where my life really changed, because I met Leanne.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was wondering when she was going to get into this.
Leanne, her mother and dad were here at the home for many years. Some of you probably know them. Donald and Lois Durstein are Leanne's folks. And so they were very established in this area. And Leanne and I met in 79. She was passing through Phoenix on a journey. Well, she was actually on spring break from Heston College. And as she went through Phoenix, a mutual friend introduced us. And it was like, yeah, oh yeah. And so we met in March. We were engaged in August and married in November, all in the same year. And that's been 40, it's 46 years. It's going to be 47 this year that we've been married. And I would have to say this area, Jim, has been such a blessing to me. I've felt very, very much arms around us coming into this area. And starting a business is not easy, as some of you know. And by God's grace, we've been doing it for the business now for almost 40 years. But I think I want to ask Leanne to come up. And she doesn't know this, but
Yeah.
I think
Chair there.
because Leanne is a local gal, I think it would be helpful for you to hear from her also. You can
She's
sit in the
part of
middle.
it too.
You can sit in the middle, hon. And believe me, none of this would be without her. As I told you, we met in 79. We're married in 79. I brought her to Phoenix. I had a very good job in construction at the time, and we lived there for 7 years, and had a nice life there, really. And I believe that when you desire to honor God in your life, and that's what I've tried to do, He will change things in your heart and in your attitude about things. Growing up in Michigan, had no desire to move to the east again. It was too cold. I loved it in Phoenix. But God changed my heart. in a way it's really hard to explain because I enjoyed the heat, and one summer I didn't enjoy the heat. But I hope that all of you have come to a point in your life where you actually know and believe that God goes before you. Mm-hmm. When you trust Him, He goes before you. He has plans for your life. And if you're willing and ready for the ride, He'll take you on a journey and an adventure. And that's what He's done. So this is where, when we moved back here, I had no desire to come, but one day I got this urge to put a for sale sign up by owner in the home that we had just built not more than 4 years before. And I put this for sale sign up, said for sale by owner. And Leanne came home from work, and she wondered if I had gone off my rocker. Because she had asked me for years, within that first 7 years, like, wouldn't you want to move back to Pennsylvania?
I was a little homesick. At least the first 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. And then I decided, you know what, my husband has a good job here. If he's happy, I need to just support him where he's at. So I said, I'm going to be happy here. I'm good. Then I came home and find this for sale sign in the front yard.
Yeah, isn't that the way God works, though? When you surrender your will to His, He will change people's hearts in ways that, because He knew what He had planned for us, but we didn't. And
let me fill in the blank a little bit. So we both loved children. We knew that from the beginning. Before we ever got married, we were saying how many kids we would like and all that good stuff. And so we didn't really prevent that from happening, but for those 7 years, nothing was happening. And we went through infertility testing, and they couldn't find anything that would prevent it, so.
That was 13 years we doctored for infertility.
Yeah, once we moved back to Souderton, we went through it again, with the testing, and nothing was really happening, so that was a tough part of our life.
Yeah. That was a real time of trusting again. When we had, actually at one point, I think we counted, there were 20 children that couples had asked us to be, what do you call that?
Godparents.
Yeah, godparents. If something would happen to them,
Yeah.
that we would be there.
So.
Yeah. But that none of that happened then.
No, thankfully it didn't. But then we started working on some adoptions locally in the United States, and they seem to just keep falling through and falling through. Well, this is where Bob and Betty Kratz come into the story. We had been attending Branch, and Bob was one of the pastors there, and he was taking trips, mission trips to Haiti was where we ended up going on our first mission trip. And the thing about Haiti was we saw such a need. Actually, on the first trip, a mom offered her 11-year-old son to us to take back. They actually met us before we were to go to the airport, the last day we were there, with this little 11-year-old boy, had a knapsack. He had everything that he owned, and she was sure we were going to take him, and he would come to the United States with us. Well, that's not possible, as most of you know. And So that kind of went on the back burner as far as our adoption and working on having children, until one day we got a call.
Well, 6 or 7 years doing
Yeah.
mission work.
Yes,
Then we got a
but
call.
again, Bob and Betty were our first, they took us on a mission trip the very first time, and after that, Bob saw something in myself and Leanne and another couple that he gave us the
Right.
authority to kind of take people on mission trips, and so we did that. We were kind of the leaders of mission trips to Haiti. So we were there many times, and as the years went on, like 5 or 6 years into that is when we started.
We got a call
We got a call.
from the native pastor and his wife that we were working under,
Mhm.
and said that this mother had come to them and was unable to care for their little boy, who was 6 months old, and would we be interested in adopting him? And Clinton and I looked at each other, and he said, "We'll pray about it." But the next morning, we gave him a call and said yes, and I think it was about another 6 months. We had our first son, Olson, who you see in the picture there. And he was 13 months old when we received him. We actually flew to Haiti and did the adoption in Haiti, and then at a later point, we readopted him in the States. Yeah. You
So
can-
that was one of, ended up being 4 children. So this was a later picture, of course, but it took, in 92, we adopted our first. 94, Olson was first, 92. 94 was Stephanie, the girl on the right. On the left, Oliver,
96.
96, and Tabitha in 98. We kind of felt like having children from the same culture would be helpful for them, and we had both decided that 4 was what we wanted. I mean, before we ever had children, we thought we wanted to have 4 kids. I came out of 5, she had 3 in her family, and we thought, we'll hit it in the middle. So
There was an airplane trip that you took where God intervened.
I'm sorry?
There's an airplane trip that you took to Haiti where God intervened. Tell us a little bit about that one.
Oh,
That was an obvious hand of God.
so
Trip.
Stephanie, she was also 14-month-old when we actually adopted her, but I had the opportunity to go down. It was during the time of all the unrest in Haiti, which still is, but back then there was a coup, and they were not flying in commercially, so we were trying to find a way to get in through a mission organization or something to be able to try and get her out. Well, I went to Florida to board this 9-passenger plane, a mission plane. Missionary was flying it in, and we ended up taking off from that airport, and as we took off, we're out over the ocean, and all of a sudden the plane starts turning and heading back to the airport. Now, the pilot had told me, because I was the last person on this 9-passenger plane, I was right in the back and the door was to my left, and he said, if we have an emergency landing, this is how you open the door and this is how you get out. So we're flying over the ocean, then I feel the plane turning and I see the runway again for the airport. And we start coming down. None of us knew what was happening except the pilot. And I see the tarmac, and I hear the tires hit the tarmac, and then there was silence, and then there was scraping, because the landing gear did not retract when we took off. But when we hit the tarmac, the landing gear went up. It was a twin-engine prop plane, and when we hit that tarmac, it was nothing but sparks, and I honestly thought, it's over. It's, probably will blow up here, and Well, it didn't happen, thank God, but that was one of the many exciting things that happened while we were adopting our children. And I'm telling you, each child has quite a story for the challenges that we were faced with in adopting in a foreign country.
But then you flew back.
We did.
That's the rest of the story.
And I have, really great part of that story is, now we had already had Olson, our oldest. He then was about 2.5 or 3 years old. And we had just been at a prayer meeting, and because I had to come back after the plane went down, and I just went back home again. And we thought, well, we'll just wait till a commercial flight, we'll go back in again. Mm-hmm. And we had gone to this prayer meeting, and we were on our way home. We were in the car, and Leanne starts crying. And Olson, our boy, was sitting in the back seat of the car. And she's crying, and I said, what's the matter, hon? And she said, I just don't know when we're going to get Stephanie. How are we going to get her out? Yeah. And from the back seat of the car, our little son said, Mommy, put in He Is Able. Now, if you know that song says He is able, more than able, to handle anything that comes our way. He is able, more than able, to, and I'm goofing up here on that, but
it was a cassette. That's back when there was a cassette player in the radio.
Yeah, so he wanted to hear that song.
He had been playing that, so he knew the song.
He knew the song, but out of the mouth of babes, God was encouraging us to trust Him again. And so
I think it was a few weeks later that the airlines opened up again, and we were able to fly down together.
Yes, we were.
And bring her home.
And that's really the right way that it should have happened, that we should have done it together.
Right.
But
the waiting was the hard part. Yeah.
I would imagine when you look at this, you realize where they've come from. You realize at each step that God was doing some planning behind the scenes.
That's why I say that I know that God goes before us when we trust Him. And I know that each of you, I'm sure, can identify times and places in your life where you can't really explain why that happened. But I know from experience that when we do trust the Lord with all of our heart and don't lean on our own understanding, when we don't think we're so smart that we've got it all figured out and our plan's the best, when we trust Him, that He will direct our path. And I think if you've experienced that in life, you know that path that God has for you may not be the easiest always, but He's got your best in mind. And that's the joy of living in that kind of freedom.
I don't want you to miss an important element of your testimony, which is how God chooses to use you to minister to people in the business and maybe otherwise.
Wow,
That happens a lot. This guy can sell ice to an Eskimo, frankly. But when he has his customers' attention, he always has a good word to them and says, God bless you, And sometimes that opens up a whole another avenue to minister.
Yes.
We have signs up in our store with verses on, and people
Yeah.
really do look at those and comment, and sometimes it just really speaks to them.
Mhm. Well, that's our desire. You know, when God places you in even a business, you're not there just to make money and just to enhance your own lifestyle. I think there's such a greater cause than just, exchanging goods with people. It's God gives you opportunities to share with others, and to give hope, because there are so many people who are so downtrodden. And I'll never forget, one day a man came into the store, and it was just written all over his face that he was in pain, not physical pain, but just emotional and spiritual pain. But I asked him, I said, "Are you okay?" As he was going out of the store, he was walking out, and I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "No." He began to pour out his heart of things that were going on in his life, and God gave me the opportunity just to stop and pray with him. God's given us many opportunities to do that with people, and it's just a joy. It just brings joy to your heart to be able to do those kinds of things with people, rather than, honestly, there have been times when I've told people, "You know what, you really don't need to buy this vacuum because you can't afford it. You don't have the funds to do it." And they would thank me later, because yes, it was true. I'm not that typical vacuum salesman that wants a person to buy, and I'll try any means to coerce someone into do it. It's just not my nature. My dad was in business too, had 2 businesses in the Upper Peninsula, and it was really a hard place to make a living, but he did that, and he always lived by the golden rule, and he always said that if you treat others the way you like to be treated, and he also honored God in ways that were very evident to me and great examples to me of how to treat people.
What do you want to add?
It's been a wild ride. Raising adopted kids is not easy, but we know they were given to us for a purpose. And we love them dearly.
Our daughters live in Phoenix, Arizona. They actually live together out there. And our oldest son, that's his daughter. So we have a granddaughter. She's now 12 years old. This picture's a couple of years old, but Leanne looks the best in this picture, so we thought we'd... No. And then our youngest son, Oliver, lives in Washington, D.C. He works for the government in intelligence.
He was in the Navy for 4 years.
Yeah, he was in the Navy for 4 years.
He turned out to be the tallest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, that's the birth name. All of our children have their names,
Their
their
first name.
birth name from their birth parent.
Yeah.
So Olson, Stephanie, Oliver, and Tabitha. Now, Oliver is the name of my grandfather. And my wife and I said if we would have had one of our own, we would like to name him Oliver. And God gave us an Oliver. His name was Olivier in French. but very easily converted to Oliver because that's what it actually is in English. So you just see signs along the way that God is going before you. And I want to encourage you in that. It doesn't matter what age you are. Just continue to trust God with all of your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge Him. And He promises to direct our path if we're just obedient and surrender our lives to Him. That's our challenge.
Are your kids keeping their native language?
Keeping
Their
their...
native language.
Oh,
Not
good
so much.
question. Actually, the only one that spoke Creole, which is a French
Dialect.
Yeah, dialect, I would say, is Tabitha. She was 2.5 when we adopted her. She was the oldest of all our children that we adopted. So the last two are only 5 months apart.
The two on the right.
The two on the right.
So she's been taking some Creole online, trying
Yes.
to learn Creole online.
We've taken each of our children back to meet their birth parent. So
All except Oliver. We don't know anything about his birth parent.
but they've all visited their
They've
birth
all-
country.
Yeah, they've all-
We've taken them back. And, yeah, I think, they've been raised in America. It's really, people will say, boy, aren't they grateful that they're, here? And, well, yes, they are, because that comes up not so often, but they realize that they have been really blessed to be able to live in this country. And, but overall,
I call them Haitian gone Dutch.
yeah,
Yeah.
they love all the Dutch
Oh, yeah, they like the
foods
funny
and-
cake and the shoe fly and all that
Yeah.
good stuff.
Clint, we have some time for a few questions, and I'm sure that listening to your story, there are certain questions some may have. Tay's over here, she's ready for the mic. And, we'd like if you just ask your question on the mic so that it can be heard.
Would you take a number of how many vacutherms you've sold to this community?
Oh, boy, in central vacuums, you
Right
mean?
here, this community.
In this community, right here in Souderton Home? Or in Souderton?
No, like
Okay.
in this general area. Well, we recently sold the central vac part of our business now to one of our employees. We still have the store, which we do repairs on portable vacuums and all, and sales, but central vac systems, we sold to our employee. So we turned over around 11,000 customers to him, but that did include a tri-state area, because we go as far as the shore. We have many customers down at the shore, and I would say in this community, easily, I would say maybe 1,500, maybe 1,000 to 1,500, which would include like Percy, this general area. So, yeah, it's been very good to us. How many in the crowd have had a central vac, our central vac?
Ooh, look at
Wow.
that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm impressed. No, thank you very much for that. Yeah. Any other questions?
I'm wondering how the children adjusted into school situations.
Very good question. I'll
Good
let Leanne-
question, yeah. So they all started at West Broad Street Elementary School, and before that at Indian Valley Nursery School. I think we were there for about 8 years. It seemed really long. And that was a really good start for them. And then West Broad. And when our oldest daughter was in 5th grade, Penview had acquired the new property, and they had just built. And we said, oh, let's go tour the new Penview. And as soon as they walked through there, they said, we would like to go there. So I would say it was 3 of the 4 attended what is now Doc Mennonite Academy, and our oldest stayed in public school. I would say the oldest probably had the hardest time. And I think there's a lot that we don't know because they didn't tell us. But it wasn't easy, I'm sure, for them, even though people in this area think back then that they're from Philadelphia. I mean, they just do. But they didn't talk like Philadelphia. So, you know, we think they have a good taste of both
worlds.
both
Yeah.
worlds of their background and our background,
Of the
because
black community and our kind of community.
yeah, go ahead.
We attended Branch Fellowship for all those years, for 40 years, and we had
A lot of diversity.
some diversity there, which I think was really helpful for them, and became very good friends with African American families. Some were from Jamaica and from, Trinidad. But we would spend time being small groups with them from church, and it really gave our children a rounded view of how families operate. And I think we've always told them, you guys had the best of both worlds, because you could go to a black family and be comfortable there, and you could go to a white family and be comfortable there. So, that would be our hope. And it is, we know, because they have a lot of white friends that they've continued to have and interact with on a regular basis, as well as other black friends, so.
Yeah, I'm Bob Kratz here, and we've been blessed by this family in many ways. We've listened to them as they've emailed us about progress with the kids, one way or the other, and we were able to send that ministry off to small groups in the church to pray for them, and invited us to their home. And a basketball game, I recall going with Clint, with his oldest at that time, and it's really been a blessing to watch the Lord work in these parents.
Yes.
Blessings. Give them a hand.
Thank you.
Give them a hand.
Again, it goes back to, Bob and Betty taking us on that first missionary trip to Haiti that opened our eyes to a totally different culture and a love for the Haitian people, because we saw how Bob interacted with his Haitian brothers and sisters there, and then gave us the opportunity to be the hands and feet of Jesus, to actually go back to that country many times and build relationships. And so we're grateful for the start that we had, that Bob and Betty had given to us, really as a gift.
I'm without a mic. Clint, I was going to let you close.
Oh.
Seen all the pictures?
Yeah, that's all the pictures. I have something I wanted to share, because I just heard this last week, and I thought, this is so true. God may not be visible in the moment, but he will be undeniable in the outcome. It may not be visible in the moment. So you may be in something that you don't see God, but in the outcome, God will be very visible, especially if you recognize it and look for him in that, in the outcome. So I would say,
And something I grasped today was just to be grateful. You can find joy in the gratitude.
yep. Believe me, life is not a bed of roses. It's not. I mean, there are challenges that we face with our children today, but it's just life, isn't it? It gets messy. It does, but God's good, he's faithful, he's trustworthy, and that's what we would like to encourage you all in. Continue your walk with Jesus. It gets sweeter every day. I'm sure you guys know because you've walked with him much longer than I have. So, thank you for the opportunity, though, to, I honestly feel very uncomfortable doing this. This is not me at all. And,
You did pretty good.
oh, thank you. But thanks to Jim for, helping us through. That's why I told him, if you could interview me, it'd be a lot better than me getting up there and trying to tell my story. So that's how that transpired. But thank you for the opportunity, Jim.
Well, I'm getting into this thing. Sorry about that, Ruben. I want to thank you both for coming. And when the thought came to us about you joining us here, Leanne, it just seemed right. You're the mother of these 4 adopted. You have a right to interject your thoughts and comments into what all's going into the mix of your lives. I just knew it secondhand. I never got the chance to be with you and have that immediate contact with you and your children, but it's wonderful. And just to say this, that adoption is a wonderful gift. It's a gift to the child, and it's a gift to the family that adopts the child. Mm-hmm. It's a real gift.
But the best thing for a child would be for them to be raised by their birth parent.
That's right. But if that doesn't happen, then what?
Yeah. And honestly, it wasn't like we were that we thought about how we're taking these children out of a really bad situation. Honestly, we were kind of, selfish. We wanted to have children. And so the opportunity came for each one, and we went for it. But, yeah.
I can't tell the story, and I won't, but come October, I'm hoping we can show a movie called Stand Out, about how rejection and adoption became such a reality. And it's a beautiful story. It really is. But we love to hear these stories of acceptance and incorporating them into our families and our communities for healing that can come. Thank you again for coming. Next month is Charlie Ness. Many of you know him, pastor at Perkiomanville for many years. And he'll be here to share with us and talk about his ministry and where God has put him. He's been to Mexico numerous times and South America, so he has some stories to tell.
I bet he does, yeah.
Lord, thank you for bringing Clint and Leanne to us today and for this time to listen to their voices and their sharing, knowing that you are alive and active in their lives. We ask that you would continue to lead, guide, and direct their steps as they place their confidence in you. And we likewise choose to do that with you, Lord. Continue to bless our gathering and the inspiration that comes. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.